Testing, testing.
Do I press anything? Test, test.
It was so weird. It's like, well, he got sick. I'm gonna get sick now too.
Okay.
That kind of
Oh,
thing.
we're pulling names out of hats now?
What?
All right,
Back in the center.
here we go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Two Rivers City Council Candidate Forum, jointly hosted by the Chamber of Manitowoc County, the League of Women Voters, and Two Rivers Business Association. My name is Chad Nadel. I will be your moderator this evening, and I am representing Two Rivers Business Association.
Good evening, and thank you all for being willing to be open to the public and for you to come. My name is Nancy Slattery. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters. And I wanted to say that we are a nationwide organization originally organized to promote and support women's suffrage, which is the right to vote. A good friend of mine, her mother didn't get the right to vote until she was 12. But that was Switzerland, but they're not as good as we are. The Manitowoc County chapter has been in existence since 1939. We are nonpartisan but political because we study issues and we take positions, but we never support a particular candidate or a particular party. We take positions. We support a choice of what to do. We are very pleased to partner with the Two Rivers Business Association and the Chamber, and I thank you all for coming.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Questorf, and I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber of Manitowoc County. I want to thank all the candidates for being able to participate today, and thank you all for being such active and engaged citizens and being here this evening. The Chamber of Manitowoc County is a membership-driven organization, and we provide resources and services to about 475 businesses and organizations throughout Manitowoc County. And advocacy is a piece of what we do, and providing a program like this and being able to partner with two wonderful organizations in our community is just another way we're able to provide those resources, programs, and services to our business community and the community at large. So again, thank you all for being here. Feel free to ask questions later. Chad will go over all the rules. And again, I look forward to great conversation.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for your time here and your participation in the Democracy for Two Rivers. I'll go over the rules for tonight's forum. Candidates are seated in the order left to right as they will appear on the ballot. Candidates have received this forum agenda, the rules and formatting, and pre-submitted questions in advance. The rules and formatting for each section will be outlined by the moderator at the beginning of each section. We will begin with introductions. Candidates will have the opportunity to introduce themselves, share their background, and why they are running for City Council. Following the introductions and opening statements, candidates will answer 5 of the pre-submitted questions. After the 5 questions, we will open the forum up for audience questions. As I'm asking the 4th question, I will ask anybody who has a question if they would like to line up on this half of the room. And then after the 5th question, I will introduce 4 candidate questions. Following the audience questions, candidates will have 2 minutes each to present closing statements. Candidates will also have 2 minutes to respond to each and all of the questions and statements. We have our timers here in front where a yellow sheet of paper will be held up when there is 30 seconds remaining for answering your question, and a red sheet of paper when your 2 minutes are up. You do not have to cut off your sentence at the end of the 2 minutes, but please succinctly wrap up your thought at that time. We will now open it up for introductions and opening statements. Everybody's name is written on a piece of paper in the coffee can here. Very formal process, I know. The first person grabbed will be first for their 2 minutes for their opening statement, and then we will move in the order to the candidates left. So if it begins with Adam, it'll go to Catherine, and so on and so forth. Our first introduction tonight will be Bonnie Shimalonis.
It's on. My name is Bonnie Shimalonis. I've been on the council for quite a while, and I guess I'm running again. Maybe I'm addicted. I don't know, but anyway, I just, well, I see concern for my side of town, which is the south side. I don't know if any of you ever heard of it, but it does exist yet. And I guess that's all I'll say for now.
Awesome. Thank you, Bonnie. Adam Wachowski.
Sure. My name is Adam Wachowski. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Two Rivers. All 41 years of my life I have lived here. My family as well has grown up here. I've started a family right here in Two Rivers, and I work locally here in Two Rivers. I've been on council for 6 years. Prior to being on council, I was a member of the Plan Commission for the city of Two Rivers. In my time on council, I have served on the Plan Commission, Advisory Rec Board, Personnel and Finance, as well as on the Utilities Committee in the last 6 years. I'm also a high school softball coach. I promote a lot of youth sports within Two Rivers and founded the organization Two Rivers Youth Sports back in 2017. I did a lot of coaching within the rec department here in Two Rivers, as well as at local high schools and for clinics for younger kids across the street over at the community house. So I'm very community involved. My goal here on council hasn't changed. I always want to see downtown thrive. I want to see our industrial park grow and continue to grow, which it has out there on 310. I also want to see more housing, and we've done that with Sandy Bay Highlands. The only part that I guess that we've really kind of failed on is getting apartments built, and I still feel strongly in the need for apartments, and we're going to continue to work towards that. And the last thing that I always like to do is make sure citizens are heard. All my emails, all my messages, I do reply, I do answer, I do get back. Whether I always agree with everything or not, I do get back, and I try to talk things through with the people that contact me.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Catherine Dalkey.
Good evening, members of the Chamber, the League, Two Rivers Business Association, residents here and those watching. My name is Catherine Dalkey, and I'm running for City Council because I care deeply about the city and the people who call it home. I've been a resident of Two Rivers for the past 9 years and a Wisconsinite for the past 16. I moved to Two Rivers after coming to Ethnic Fest about 16 years ago when my husband Jeff was running for Congress. A friend of ours, David Mott, had invited us to go look at the old Webster House, a property we fell in love with immediately, moved into, and promptly after that we convinced our daughter and her Karen kids to move in. And then we into the city, and when we moved our son here last year. And it's become a place where for a couple who've traveled extensively through our lifetime that we decided to put heavy roots into the city. From a background perspective, I've worked in human resources for companies for the last 30 years. And it's a position in which I manage conflict resolution, negotiations, contract management. I look at housing issues, negotiations. I work with people a lot. I do a lot of listening, a lot of negotiation. I look at the issues of the day and financials. And one of the things that I've looked at in this role and what I'd like to bring to the table is I'm looking at a city I want to be an individual who represents a city that's financially responsible, transparent in its decision-making, and focused on strong services while planning for the future. I think we're definitely at a crossroads as a city where we're looking at long-term economic growth and development. And I want to be able to bring a pair of fresh eyes to the processes there and an ear for the citizens who can listen, translate messages in clear, transparent ways, and be a dedicated resource. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Chantel Hoffman.
My name is Chantal Hoffman, and I was born in Two Rivers. I have kind of fluctuated between Manitowoc and Two Rivers my whole life, but Two Rivers has always been my home. My grandparents lived here, and I never wanted to move away. And I love it here, and I would like the city to be able. I'd like families to be able to reside here for generations to come, just like my family did for generations. My background is really crazy. I have done a lot of different things. I used to manage Miller Manor, and I also did the maintenance there. I was an exercise instructor for the city of Two Rivers for the senior center for a while. I also worked for the TR Life and Fitness. One time I was a personal trainer and a group exercise instructor. When I was 40 years old, I decided to go back to school, even though I had 5 children at home, and became an LPN, which I do now at Shady Lane in Manitowoc. I really care about, I really like kids, and the elderly are my favorite, but I'd like a future for the kids that live here to be able to come back and to be able to afford to live here. And I guess the reason why I decided to run is because I really want the citizens here to be represented, and I want them to have a future so that their children can live here. You know, that's what I really want. I want Two Rivers to be a home, not just a place to visit.
Thank you, Chantal. Darla Leclerc.
Good evening. My name is Darla Leclerc. I've been on city council since 2016. I took 1 year off to start a small business, and unfortunately, COVID killed me. So we gave it the good college try. I was open for 3.5 years. This would be my third term on city council. And I think by now I understand how this city works. I've done so much with the city, whether it's with city council or on utilities committee or public works, Main Street board, Main Street design committee, which is we're taking care of all the murals that you're starting to see downtown. I was also involved with the Two Rivers branding and marketing. And I also have, and I still do, lobby and testify in both Washington, D.C. and in Madison for the behalf of Two Rivers. I am also a Wisconsin representative in Washington, D.C. for the USGLC. We deal with international affairs budget. And I'm also, this I'm very proud of, Wisconsin representative in Washington for Veterans for Smart Power. I was in the Army. I have a lot of connections with people because we have something in common, and that is the military. And that was probably the best decision I ever made. I want to continue trying to do good for my community. The way I look at it is, you know, this might sound funny to some of you people, but we're only here for a limited amount of time. And while we're here, we should do everything possible to make our world a little bit better. And I enjoy doing this, and like Main Street, for beautification and other things.
Thank you, Darla. We will now move on to our pre-submitted questions. The candidates have received these questions in advance of the forum. Each candidate will go first at least one time, answering one of the 5 questions, and each candidate will go last at least one time in answering these questions. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond, and same as before, the timer will hold up a yellow sheet of paper when there are 30 seconds remaining, and a red sheet of paper at 2 minutes. Our first question, we will be starting with Catherine Dalkey, and our question is, within the demographics of the city and its various property types, the need for housing is becoming more prevalent and costly and forces tough choices for potential renters and homeowners on where to live and put down roots. What role does the city have in assisting or helping with these decisions?
So housing is something that I deal with every day in work. So we're constantly relocating people, and this is not an issue that is restricted to Two Rivers. Housing costs, building costs are going up all over. When we helped my son negotiate a purchase price for a very small 3-bedroom home, I was shocked at the sticker price of over $200,000. It's amazing how much that inflation has driven up. So I can't imagine a young family trying to buy a home here or somebody trying to downsize. So that's definitely inflation hitting us. But to me, the city shouldn't be telling us where to live or how to live, but what is the city's role here? You know, I think that there is a place, and that comes in helping with the zoning. We have areas in the city that we can look at from a perspective of what types of housing units can go in to the city. It's mixed unit housing. Not everything can be a Sandy Bay, because that might be out of reach for some folks. Not everybody can afford a $400,000 home on a fixed income, but not everything can be low-income housing. So there are other uses that we can look at. So I think the role of the city is to look at what those alternatives can be. And maybe it's being creative. You know, are there granny pods? Can we reduce, lift restrictions on building over garage apartments out there? What are other solutions that we can look at? You know, we're looking at the Hamilton property right now. Can there be different mixed use spaces there, apartments that can go in? So I think it's incumbent upon the city to look at all of the available real estate that is there, all of the different options, and make sure that there is a variety of choices for folks when it comes to housing. Not everything has to be high end, not everything has to be low end. We've got to meet the folks where they stand, and perhaps we need to maybe help some of the blighted areas clean up a little bit, you know, hold some of our rental properties accountable for how they're holding, maintaining their properties to make it more amenable for folks who are looking to rent. So I think there's some opportunity there that the city can step up to.
Thank you, Catherine. Adam Wahusky.
All right, so housing, in my opinion, and I think it's kind of pretty true, is controlled by the private market. When you want to go buy a house, it's not the city's role to step in and negotiate prices or anything like that. What we can control are the quality of life and why you want to live here and why you want to put down your roots here. And quality of life goes within the rec department through your parks, your rec, the quality of your police department, your fire department. It also goes through the quality of roads and sidewalks and a place where you want to call home. That's what the city can control. The other part we can control is the assistance we can give towards apartment buildings through the assistance of TIF. The state also recently created a new law where you can give TIF assistance to certain low-income areas of a city. So that's another area where the city can help. But a lot of housing is really in the private market and not really in the city's hands.
Thank you, Adam. Bonnie Shimalunas.
We have, I don't know how much the city can have a role in this, because a lot of things that are connected to housing are influenced by legislation. Like he said, they just passed legislation to help, I believe it's to help low-income housing to get more up faster. And the thing is, I don't really want to see more low-income housing in the city because we have 3 units like that already. And how many more do we need? We're only 11,000 people, and we're becoming a retirement community, really. That's my opinion. There are 5,000 units in this city. A unit can be an apartment building or something like that. Almost 30% of this city is rental. To me, that's part of the problem. Because if you're renting out a family home and so many people are looking for those family homes, no wonder they maybe don't stay. They might move out somewhere else. I don't know what you do about it, because you all know that there's these people wanting to buy homes. I don't know how many invitations to sell your home that you people have gotten, but I've gotten quite a few. And I think that if we had more I think there's a market for single-family homes. I know that we're thinking of building apartments over by, Family, is it Family Dollar? Well,
Dollar General,
anyway,
yeah.
where, what?
Dollar General.
Oh, it, s- I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. But it's also a problem to get people to build. Oh, stop, I have to stop.
Thank you, thank you, Bonnie. Chantel Hoffman.
So I guess I agree with a lot of that. The whole thing about the government can only do so much to help with housing. We really can't, or, the city really can't, tell people what to do or what to build. However, I was at a listening session one time and, a couple months ago, or it wasn't a listening session. I forget what it was. Was it a listening session? I think Darla was there, and her husband. And there was a group of ladies there who stood up and they said, there's no children in our neighborhoods. And they said that, when the houses that went up for sale, they were all bought to be like basically Airbnbs, like hotels in the neighborhood. And they said that the houses stay empty all winter. It's depressing. And they said, the lady told us that 3 families, when those houses went up for sale, there were 3 different families she knew that wanted to buy those homes, but they couldn't because they were outbid. And I understand that that is a free market and that you can do whatever you want with your home. But I think that sometimes you need to remember that those are neighborhoods. And I feel like you can make I know the state allows for short-term rentals and that's fine. And you should be able to do that. But you can make things like minimum 6-night stays. And if you have minimum 6-night stays, you can have people stay for longer and they spend more money and you're not getting like weekend warriors to party all summer. And you can encourage those neighborhoods to be neighborhoods and like have your areas where it's more, you can have areas where it's more like towards your downtown. You should have, where you allow more short term and you can kind of regulate that. And I actually do believe that that would help because it is sad when your neighborhoods aren't neighborhoods anymore and there's no kids and you're not encouraging families to be there. That's what I felt, is how I felt when we heard that.
Thank you, Chantel. Darla Leclerc.
All right now, our housing inventory is really, really bad. Right now, there's only 33 homes that are out there on the market available. There are more, but those are either pending or there's some movement on them. But right now, we got 33. The cost of building a house it's really sad. To get the materials, and the reason why materials are higher is because of natural disasters and politics. And that is driving the cost of materials up. More people are working from home, so they're building home offices. People are living longer, and there's in-home care that they take advantage of, and they are there a lot longer than, thank goodness, they're able to stay there as long as they need to or want to. So the homes are not changing over, they're not downsizing. With the cost of homes right now, for example, like Manitowoc County, back in 2020, the average home price was $135,000. Currently, it's at $239,000. It's a huge jump. The number of home sales back in 2020 was 1,153. Right now, we're at 118. So that's not a good thing. I think that we want to attract people. So we do have to look at not only market rate, that would be good for older people who want to downsize, but also, I like to call it workforce, not necessarily lower income, but workforce. And because there's a lot of people who are working their butts off and they just can't keep their heads above water. We want to help them as well.
Thank you, Darla, and thank you, candidates. We will now move on to our second question. For this question, we will begin with Adam Wahusky. Our second question this evening, serving on a city council requires responding to constituents and sometimes sorting through requests that may be contradictory. How do you plan to make yourself available and to reach solutions on issues where constituents may disagree? If possible, please include examples of times you've worked with groups of people.
Sure, thank you. Yes, so I kind of touched on this in my opening statement. Maybe I shouldn't have went through it as much, but I will touch on it again. Anytime anyone reaches out to me via email, messenger, on the phone, I always get back. And when I feel it could be a long conversation, I ask them to reach out to me via phone so we can have that long conversation and not necessarily go back to back on email. I love hearing what residents are thinking, what's on their mind, what they're looking for government to accomplish. And it's not always going to be maybe necessarily the same vision as my own, but I'm not up here just for my own vision. I'm up here to represent the people of Two Rivers. So my job is to hear them and then explain to them kind of what's going on the city side of things, help them understand where we come from on some of our decisions on city council, and then help them relate so they can kind of see both sides of it. And once we accomplish that, I like to hear a little bit more about what they're thinking and how they feel after I've said my piece and they've kind of said their piece, so we can work together to find some common ground and try to help everyone. And not everything is something that I necessarily like. But again, it's not about what I like, it's about what the residents need.
Thank you, Adam. Bonnie Shimalonis.
I'll start by saying there have been some controversial issues like ATVs. I will tell people that, I won't vote in favor of this or that because well, what's the point of trying to explain anything else, number one? But number two, then they at least, like when it came to ATVs, the people in the city were not wanting them at a rate of 2-to-1. Sorry. But some people did want them. Part of the problem was we have 3 state highways running through this city. And so we'd have to be putting signs up, everywhere. You can't go onto this street because it's a, state highway. You can cross them, but you can't go on them. That's just one example. The other thing was the concession stand. I was very surprised how many people voiced in on that. And I actually answered everybody. I think there was like 40 some people, but I don't mind doing that. I want to at least acknowledge that that we saw your email. Well, that's not really solved yet, but I am glad to hear from people and know what they want. And okay, but you won't have to put stop up this time. This is my last sentence. I agree with Adam. Well, I'm pretty sure all these people will feel the same way, that it's really not what I want. You're trying to listen to what people are saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Chantel Hoffman.
I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. So, I guess I would definitely be willing to listen to people. I'm always willing to hear people out. I was an apartment manager. So as you can imagine, I've heard many complaints in my life, and I've had to kind of mediate between people very often, because when you have people living in an apartment building very close together, when the walls are paper thin, they will make a lot of complaints. So I've had that experience of trying to deal with people and their complaints and what they want. And just, I think that I can carry that over too, so that if people want to reach out to me, I'm pretty open. I think I'm usually pretty easy to talk to. And in the end, it's not about me. And sometimes, I've talked to Adam and I've talked to Bonnie, and when I've heard what they have to say, I have changed my mind sometimes even too, because they're both very easy to talk to. And I hope to be that way too. I would like people, to hear them out, and sometimes I might change my mind. And I think that's a very important place to be, because if somebody gives you good evidence, you're never always right. You might, you want to feel that way, but sometimes people can talk to you and you can get a whole new perspective on something. And I think that I can be changed. I can change my mind. I don't have to be set in stone on things.
Thank you, Chantel. Darla Leclerc.
main thing that's most important is to listen. And I mean, really listen and hear what people have got to say. Sometimes they might come up with something that I haven't thought of, and it's like an aha moment, and it is worth exploring. But the thing is that everybody should be heard. We work for you, and you should feel free to come and talk to us or contact us at any time. And we are responsive, and we want to be responsive. You guys are what's important, your quality of life. I have worked on several different things, the marketing and branding. That was with a big group of people, and it was challenging, but it was a good project. And also the Park 365, the remodeling of that was another thing. I am going to touch on, I was hoping to avoid this, but I'm going to touch on the concession stand. There was a lot of misinformation that went out on that, and a lot of people that I've talked to were basing their opinions on things that they had seen out on Facebook. So there was a lot of fire control when it came to that. But it's not just listening to people, it's also education. You know, why are my taxes so high? Why did my utility bills go up? And you can sit down and explain exactly where your money is going. Where are my tax dollars going? There's always an answer, and we owe it to you to give you that answer.
Thank you, Darla. Catherine Dalkey.
Well, let's say I've had a lot of experience in the complaint game. It's my day-to-day bread and butter, and I'm evaluated on it every year, how well I respond to that, working in HR and in mediation. And I've learned that feedback is the gift that keeps on giving, and active, engaged listening is critical to success. So I'm recapping some of what I've heard. And I think that a successful council person is always actively engaged and actively listening and seeking to understand the perspectives of their constituents. And yes, I do work a full-time job, but I'm extraordinarily committed to the role if I would be elected to this position. And the question said, you know, how would you prepare yourself? And I would make myself available through email, through voicemail, through phone calls, and evenings on weekends, and be committed to seek to understand and listen to the concerns of the constituents. I think that's the first part, is to actively listen. And to the points made by the other folks on the dais here, it's to educate, ask questions. And, you know, when the council sits down and prepares for a decision, they get a packet of information. We need to process that information and think through it, discuss on the dais what's happening, and take into consideration the viewpoints of the constituents and where they want to vote. And I've made the commitment that it's not for me to vote my opinion. It's for me to vote the way the constituents are wanting the decision to go. I can distill it down, and if I disagree with that, either you have to persuade me differently, but my responsibility is to vote the way the constituents want, even if that might be in dissension with the rest of the folks in the dais. My job isn't to be in solid agreement with everyone up there. I think it's a responsibility. This is why we have a democracy, to say, I'm voting the way the people have asked me to vote, and explain that out there. And I just wanted to put that in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, candidates. We will move on to our third question. For this question, we will be starting with Bonnie. Our third question this evening, plans and listening sessions for the former Hamilton property are ongoing. If given the chance on another similar property, what direction would you lead the charge for Two Rivers to take regarding its use?
I guess I always find this difficult because the city council does sometimes make decisions. For example, when we first knew that Hamilton was moving, there was a thought of putting apartments up there, which I'm not opposed to or anything. I'm just saying that's what we thought about. But Hamilton's wasn't very willing to, they kind of wanted to get rid of it, but they were dragging their feet. And so we didn't do much more than think about that. One of the things you have to do, I think, right away, even with whatever ideas you come up with is find somebody who will do the construction for you or the development. We've actually had people who were going to build this or that, and then they backed out or they never communicated with us again. So that's an important thing. The listening sessions are not such a bad idea. I actually like it better when constituents will contact me more one-on-one, because then I can hear them. What I meant was I can hear their ideas. Sometimes when you're in a group situation, there are people that are more talkative than others, and some are a little bit hesitant to say something because it's their nature. They're not very shy. So then I feel like maybe you can't get everybody's idea anyway. But the thing about coming up with an idea so you can tell the developer what you want and see what they come up with is not a bad thing, because that is the next step with the Hamilton property, is getting, I don't know what you call them, students from UWGP. I'm almost finished. To have an artist's drawing or impression of the ideas that people have been coming up with. That's it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I
Chantel?
don't always talk that much. Go ahead.
So like, I guess my actual feeling is I kind of don't really, and I know that when I'm on city council, I have no choice in this matter. I have to kind of agree to things, but I don't always agree that the government should be in the real estate game, because we don't have a lot of money, and and then we're buying and then we're investing with money we don't always have. But I understand that they already have their plans in motion. So I guess, you know, I would be open to probably hearing people out like we talked about before and seeing what they have to offer, and probably what's the best thing for the people that live here. People have had sticker shock, so I'm not always really big on, buying property or, and taking out loans and paying interest, especially when we have so much that we need to take care of already. However, I know that that is the way that things work. So I guess, yeah, I would like to see more housing. I'm not a huge fan of apartments either, but I know that people do desire them. So those are things that I just honestly feel in my heart, but I have to do what we need to do. If you're on the city council, you have to look at what's best, what everybody wants, and weigh it out. So I guess it's so hard to answer that question, because I really don't, know everything about the Hamilton property and what's going on, and, and what other properties are gonna come up that, Two Rivers is gonna be interested in. And so I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Chantel. Darla?
Ask the question again.
Absolutely. Plans and listening sessions for the former Hamilton property are ongoing.
Right. It all depends on the location. Right now, we have a very unique situation with the Hamilton property. We're downtown, but it's a very large area that would accommodate mixed use, like Kathy said. Because we need places to live, but we also need to be able to support small business. And I think that would lend itself very well to that kind of a concept, especially if you have a lot of people walking down on the promenade. It's going to draw them in. There'll be different things to do, small little restaurants. There's a plethora of things that can be done. And that's why we have the sessions. And I think it's really great that we're involving the community to see what they want instead of this is what you're going to get. So like I said, location has a lot to do with what I would suggest for another piece of property. I think if possible, we kind of try and go the residential route or the apartment dwelling route. But then again, it might be in an area that's more industrial, or it's more, closer to downtown. You can go the opposite way. But whatever you do, we have two different things to address: small business and also lodging for our people.
Thank you, Darla. Catherine?
So I've had the opportunity to participate in the sessions for the Hamilton property. And I have to say they're extraordinarily well done, and three things have jumped out at me. First of all, it's part of a larger strategic plan, and it should be part of a larger strategic plan. You're not just looking property to property. We have to take a giant step back and look overall, what should the plan be for the city? Because everything is connected. That's one piece of property. If there's a similar property that comes available, we look at a cohesive long-term strategy for the city, because we have at least three elements that we're looking at: housing, commercial, and work, right? Businesses, small businesses that to come together to make the city hum. That's why we're looking at mixed use. So that would be the first piece of it, right? We need to look at a longer term strategic plan with whatever property we're looking at and how does it hook in together. Second, and it was a comment one of the ladies made as we were looking at what options would be there. And she said, if you've looked at the property in Sheboygan, have we looked at what's stuck long-term? So whatever solution that we're looking at, what has legs? What's going to be here? What's going to fit our city 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? What's not the flavor of the month? What's going to stay with us longer term as we're developing the property? So that would be another consideration that we would look at. And the third piece of it would be, we should probably look at something that takes into consideration, as Darla had said, what's adjacent to it and around it. If it's on a waterfront, does it bring in the element of the water? If it's adjacent to the downtown, does it bring in elements of the downtown? If it can connect to tourism, does it connect to the tourism? Does it take into account if it's near a school district, does it bring in residents? So again, you're not going to look at it in isolation. Does it fit into the long-term plan? Can we steer a developer into building what we want? And that's the reason why you have a strategic plan, so you can influence the right developers, put the RFPs out to the right developers, and not just leave it up to chance.
Thank you, Catherine. Adam?
This is a very tough question because properties around the city have different locations, and that kind of changes what you do with those and what that kind of plan looks like, and even if the city should get involved. I'm not a big fan of the city being in the real estate business. I don't think that's our role as a government. However, certain things happen and they present themselves to the city and give us the best opportunity to get those developed and try to do that the right way. And the Hamilton property is that property. And I say that because it is a waterfront property kind of in the heart of our downtown. And that's a big deal for the city of Two Rivers. And we have one chance to kind of get it right and may not get this chance for another long time to come. The other issue that comes up there are the DNR issues. And as a government, we get an LGU, which is an environmental exception. And so we are protected by the state on some of the DNR issues that could come up in the future, which helps any future developer when we own that land. So the development of that land is very important to us, and the fact that our economic development department is doing these listening sessions is huge, because we have to know what the city wants to see there, because it's going to take the city to make whatever we do there work, whether it's business, whether it's housing. The community is going to have to support that development. So that would hold water with any other future development that would happen like this. I hope there never is another one, because I don't want to be in the real estate business.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, candidates. We will now move on to our fourth question of the evening. And after our last speaker speaks on the fourth question, I would invite any individuals who would like to ask a question from the audience to line up on this side. And after our fifth question, we will go to questions from the audience. For the fourth question, we will start with Chantel. Setting priorities for the city budget is always a challenge, especially when constituents are facing tax increases. How do you see the current city budget, and what, if any, priorities would you change?
In my Herald Times reporter little piece, I said that everything the city council does should start, the first question they should ask first is, does this make life better for the people that already live here? And I feel that that is the biggest priority. I feel that if we want to get people to live here and have a future, we need to definitely make sure that we are a place that, to encourage families, you know, you want to, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. You want to, I'm so sorry. I got all nervous. When you want to make sure that this is a home for people, and that when you, I can't gather my thoughts. I'm so sorry. I just can't. No, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought.
Absolutely. Setting priorities for the city budget is always a challenge, especially when constituents are facing tax increases. How do you see the current budget, and what, if any, priorities would you change?
Okay, so what I wanted to say was that I think you should put the citizens first. So when you do your budget, you should make sure that the priorities are with them. You know, you don't want to be cutting, like, the first thing, sometimes recently we had an issue where they were going to cut services, you know, bus services was an idea, you know, and I think that that was terrible. That is really stranding all the people that, you know, needed that. I'm glad that they put that to the wayside, but it scared me. That is actually why I ran. It scared me that the first place they went for a budget cut was to cut services to the people that live here. And that, I think that is not acceptable for a budget. You want to do what's best for the people that live here. Sorry, I had more to say, but I had a rough moment there.
Chantel. Darla.
As far as the budget, the city has set itself a $200,000 spending cap with flexibility. And because of that, things get more expensive. So if we keep ourselves at 200,000, that means we might have to take things away, maybe from parks, you know, things that are not important. We all have to worry about shelter. We have to worry about security. We have to worry about food. Those are the things that everything else is built on. I just wanted to let you know that with our budget, I love my statistics. Just so you know, like with your utility rates, what plays into that is the cost of parts. For instance, a 150 kVA pad mount transformer in 2019 was $4,675. Now it is $18,612. So that's a huge jump. Bucket and digger trucks, which only have a certain shelf life, they used to be $200,000 and today they are $350,000 plus. As far as this, I thought was interesting, fire hydrants. 2019, they were $2,800, 2016, $4,600. And the current typical total is $6,000. That's to replace one hydrant. So there's a lot of moving parts. One of the things though is the lead service replacements. That is something that we have to do. And right now we still have about 900 more to go. And the EPA has basically said you got 10 years. We're gonna have to have an extension on that. But when all is said and done, lead services, that's a $10 million project over how many years it's gonna take. So our budget, we are so tight right now. We have trimmed fat plus, and there's no place else to cut. If anybody wants to talk to me more about that, I can explain it, but it's been painful.
Thank you, Darla. Catherine.
Thank you for the question. And it is a hard question to answer, right? We were all faced with challenges in our personal budget. None of us, I think, were actually thrilled with the budget when it came out. I think, you know, we looked at the tax levy increase, which went, you know, it was 2.5, and we were hoping, some of us, it would come out at the 1.9, and wasn't exactly thrilled to see the $250,000 spend for the increase for the beach concession stand, which has not yet been approved. And there's still some conversation around that, right? So that's still hanging out there. And my concern was, if it does get approved, if it's sitting there, are we going to spend it regardless? Right? Tax levies should be for infrastructure and not for projects, in my humble opinion. So back to the question on the budget. Things are getting more expensive. We know that to be true. The priority should always be the needs, and that is infrastructure, and we know that infrastructure is costly. Maintenance is an issue out there, and we have to be focused on the maintenance. And if we're not focused on the maintenance, when we get a big ticket item, when things break, that's gonna bust a budget. So I would love to see us making sure that we have long-term maintenance plans in place, that we have plans for that in place. And then when a want does come off, the first question would be, what is the ROI on the want? If we put the want in place, what's it going to cost us year over year? It's going to cost us X amount of dollars year one. What is the on-turn cost going to be, long-term cost of it going to be? Have we solved for the problem? Is, what is the, what is, I'm having your problem shut down here, right? It's a little bit of nerves. It's hot up under here, right? Have we exhausted the use first before we go to buy new out there, right? What are the other things that we can do? And I know you're cutting the budget to the bone. I've sat in on some of the personnel and finance committee meetings just to educate myself. It's not easy to balance the budget. I think that we need to continue to look at other ways to do that and to continue to educate the public. So when we start to see things out there to say, it looks like we're chasing a shiny new object, but we're getting hit here on cost. What are the other things that we can do to supplement and to pay out there? I think we just need more transparency, more education, and maybe we need to shelve some of the spending.
Thank you, Catherine. Adam?
Budget falls into two categories, the general fund and then borrowing. The general fund is what we approve in December, and that fund is 85% built on the people that provide the services within the city of Two Rivers. Whether it's police, fire, rec, DPW, the general government you see right here at City Hall, and all the office staff, the IT department, and everything that keeps the city running. That obviously goes up every year as there's a cost of living expense that we give all of our employees. Things go up for them. We also encourage them to stay and retain them. So we also give them a 3% bump. As most people know, insurance has gone through the roof, and that is no different with our health insurance here or our general liability insurance here that falls within the same budget. Those also go up. And I'm one that does not like to see property taxes go up. And we worked really hard within this budget to try to get it down. And we did a fairly good job, but I think we could have did more to cut some key things that could have brought it down a little bit more. It wouldn't have totally eradicated any kind of tax increase, but it could have brought that increase down. In those areas where we got some pending retirements we could have withheld on. And we also have a lot of, in our DPW, our maintenance isn't what it used to be now that we're on the fleet program. With the fleet program, a lot of our cars now go into dealerships for oil changes and other maintenance where they used to go down to DPW. I think we got around 70 cars or somewhere right around there in that fleet, including now we started putting police vehicles in the fleet as well. The other part is borrowing, and that's where you see borrowing for infrastructure, for roads, for buildings, for fire trucks, for other big trucks that aren't part of the fleet system. And there we could also reduce some of our borrowing that we could have withheld and did in future years. That's it. She's telling me to stop.
Thank you, Adam. And Bonnie?
One thing that irritates me, in the last 5 years, we have lost 100 acres of city land that could have been taxed to nonprofits. I am not trying to put down nonprofits. Some of them, I don't mean it that way, but the point is that's a lot of land. Who makes up the difference? People that live here. And that's not going to change for a long time because sometimes this land might be available, but it's not going to be for the next 10 to 20, 30, 40 years. I would like to see I would like the process of budgeting to be different. I think we need more city council discussion. Some of that has to do with a transition of leadership and trying to get used to each other and things like that. But I would like to see the department heads prioritize what they want. Because I don't really care if they want something. If they don't have something they need this year, go get something you want. They have a right to, ask for things. I don't want to tell the department heads what to do. But at least if you see a list of priorities, it's easier for the city council to say, couldn't you wait another year for this or that? And I know for things like fire trucks and things, we will budget for them before we can even get them. I want to say this comment. I was talking to somebody and they said, did the fire department have to have that truck because it was kind of fancy? But I asked the fire chief about that and he said, that's the only one we could get. So sometimes that kind of thing happens, that you might get a better truck, but it was the only one you could get. I don't know, what does it take, 2 years to build a fire truck, something like that? But then if we know that the department is getting it, they put away money. And I'm done. She told me I'm finished.
Thank you, Bonnie. That concludes our fourth question. I would invite, as we're going up to the fifth question, if anyone would like to line up to ask any questions from the audience. For our fifth question this evening, we will start with Darla. And our fifth question: the city of Two Rivers has a new city manager, the first in over 30 years. How do you believe the city council can and should foster a positive working relationship with the new city manager? All set? Darla.
I'll tell you what, I've known Greg Buckley for a very long time, and he was so comfortable in that position. He knew it inside out. The guy had a steel trap for a mind. He could recall most everything that's occurred in the city, how much it cost, names, locations, the whole 9 yards. I was always very impressed because my brain doesn't work that way. I thought he's going to be very difficult to replace. And he was. But I'll tell you what, with Kyle, I'm really impressed. He has hit the ground running. He's enthusiastic and he listens. He listens to his council and he's getting the public more involved in a lot of decisions and just getting the input, which we really didn't have before. I think that he's so far working out very, very well. He's been here, 6 months, roughly? And he's come a very long way. Sometimes you have to tamper down your enthusiasm a little bit. And he's kind of calmed down. He knows what we need to do. He talks to us and it's green light, red light, or let's get a yellow light going here. Personally, I like the guy. I've met his wife. They want to be a part of this community. She does. She wants to be involved. And I think that's what we need, is that type of enthusiasm. He's of course, he works for us, but he's kind of like leading the community. And I think we all need to support him. He's had some bad press, but I see that that's going away. I think it was a good choice.
Thank you, Darla. Catherine.
So I think with any new relationship, new leader, new team members, and there'll be some changes on council, it all starts with seeking to understand, right? So I'm assimilating new leaders all the time. Clear roles and responsibilities. What's my role? What's your role? Understanding ways of working. How do you like to be communicated with? and understanding that. So Kyle understanding his role, new council members, if some of us are elected, how do we work together? What are the guidelines? What does communication look like? And then maybe understanding each other's background. We have a process that I'm used to called an assimilation program, right? So here, tell me a little bit about your background. I'll tell you about my background. What are my strengths? What are your strengths? How are strengths complementary and how can we work together to make this a better working relationship? I think when you start with a foundation of shared understanding, that can go a long way for building a better communication path and building a stronger relationship, a stronger council, and a stronger way forward. So that would be my perception. I don't have a working relationship with you. Strong communication, setting boundaries, goals, etc.
Thank you, Catherine. Adam.
It's really a two-way street. The council and the city manager really have to work together very well. We have to get to know one another. We have to find each other's strengths, other weaknesses, and how do we aid their weaknesses and they aid our weaknesses and vice versa? How do we promote their strengths and work together to be successful? If we're constantly working against each other, we'll never be successful. Whether we voted for the guy or not, or any future one that would ever come up, you always have to put that aside and have to be willing to work, because at the end of the day, the council puts that person in the position that they're in, and our job is to work together with that person to make the city of Two Rivers the best possible place it could be. Open communication is constructive and is very key when working between council and city manager.
Thank you, Adam. Bonnie?
Adam stole my first sentence I was gonna say. It is a two-way street. He does a good job of attempting to communicate with different council members. I don't have too much to add to what other people said. And it is a hard thing to come in and have a lot of criticism right away. We all have criticism. I will give him this advice. This is what I'm gonna do. Take all the negative criticism that you get, especially if it's in print, and take one of the rooms in your house and put wallpaper up with all those negative impressions. Anyway, I don't really have much else to say because he is doing a good job of trying to communicate with us. I think it's always a process. So that's it.
Thank you, Bonnie. Chantel?
I agree with everything, everybody. You got to work together. He is the manager. That's just the way it is. You have to work with them. One thing I do kind of find a little interesting is when Two Rivers set up the manager position, it was supposed to be that they wanted a group of people that would come together and they would guide the manager. The manager would be in charge of the finances and the city council would be the direction of the city. I feel that has not always happened. I think it's more the council, I think, needs to be more of the leader than the manager. I think the council needs to work together more and try to do things instead of, I feel like a lot of times there was a lot of, oh, the manager wants to do this, or this is the manager's idea. And really, I feel like the city council needs to be stronger, and I think that they need to be more, I'm not saying that he can't have any ideas or any participation, and we all have, but I believe that a lot of that has been unloaded onto the manager. And I believe that the city council needs to take that back and start being more of a guide for the city and a representative to the constituents.
Thank you, Chantel, and thank you all for your thoughtful answers for those questions. At this time, I would invite any questions from the audience, if there are any. Audience members posing a question, you will have 30 seconds to frame and ask your question. That will be timed as well with the sign shown at the end of your 30 seconds. The question will be framed and addressed to all candidates, not to one specific candidate. And then the candidates will, again, have 2 minutes to respond to each question with these same timing rules. We'll invite the first audience member for a question.
Thank you. My name is Sharon Tittle, and my last name, I always like to clear this, is Titel. My question is, where do you stand on local law enforcement cooperating with ICE in light of the past excessive use of force and errors in identifying who they are looking for to deport?
Thank you, Sharon.
Would you repeat the question? Would somebody, or give the mic more in, there you go. Thank you.
Okay. Where do you stand on local law enforcement cooperating with ICE in light of the past excessive use of force and errors in identifying who they are looking to deport?
For each of these, we will go back to the coffee cup to start, and then we will move to the candidates left. For this one, we will start with Adam.
Right. Well, ICE is a federal agency, and just like other federal programs, we need to work with them. I am very pro law enforcement. We have a great department here in Two Rivers, and if the federal government deemed that they needed assistance from our Two Rivers Police Department, I think we should work hand in hand under the law to make sure that we are aiding them in what they need aid in. Again, it works just like any other federal program. Some federal programs you like, some you don't like. You take the good with the bad. And no matter where you come down on this, it's something that, just like in the state, you can't supersede the state. The city can't supersede the state can't supersede the federal government. It's kind of working together, and that's where I come down on this. I would say our police department should work hand in hand with every federal agency as they are requested.
Thank you, Adam. Catherine.
And building on that, the police chief reports to the city manager, not to the city council. So again, there's a hierarchy and a policy around that, and it would be remiss of us to opine on that because we don't have jurisdiction in it.
Thank you, Catherine. Chantel.
I agree with that. I don't really see how the city council could really tell federal agencies that our police department isn't going to work with them. I don't think we could do that. That doesn't sound right. Well, I guess I would say that our police force should definitely work with the federal agencies.
Thank you, Chantel. Darla.
I agree with everybody so far. You know, that is not something that we are charged with. Like Adam said, we will not go against our government. At least I won't. And there are things that are happening that I might not like. And I can definitely put that out there into the public. But I mean, when it cut brass tacks, we have a wonderful police department, and they would work just fine together with the feds or with the state. And like Kathy said, that's beyond our scope of what we do. But if you're against those kind of things, there are different groups that you can get involved with and voice your opinion on that. But right now, it's like there is a hierarchy, and we abide by that. That is part of our role.
Thank you, Darla. Bonnie.
Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid, well, not afraid. I agree with the other people too. I also want to point out, when we had that incident with Elijah Vu, the federal government came here and did a lot of, well, they did a lot of help in conducting the investigation. I don't think I'm wrong by saying they didn't charge anything. Am I wrong, Darla?
They charge.
They did? What? Never mind. Okay, I'm wrong about that, but they still came in and did their job and was quite a help. I don't have anything more to add.
Thank you, Bonnie. We will now invite our second audience question.
Good evening. Thank you, candidates, for your time tonight, and thanks for the host of this event for allowing for some audience questions. Appreciate it. Two Rivers Public School District services about 1,600 students. How do you see the city and the public school district being two separately governed entities working together to strengthen community long-term? And what is your vision of this partnership?
For this question, we will start with Chantel.
I am actually going to abstain from this question. I do not send my children to the Two Rivers Public School District, so I don't feel that I know enough about the district to comment right now on how we can work with them. I mean, I'm sure I could. I would have to look into it more, but right now my children don't attend. Well, I do actually have one that's a senior this year, but he's done in 2 months. I actually have had a wonderful experience with him. He has autism. They've done a wonderful job with him, but my other children don't attend, so I'm going to wait to comment on that, or, because I just don't know enough.
Thank you, Chantel. Darla?
It's like the school district and the city live in two different bubbles, and we have to kind of bring those bubbles together. Right now, I mean, one of the big things that they're facing was that our rating for our schools was horrible. And if I had a young family, I'm looking to move here, and I saw what the rating is, I would think twice before moving here. They are making progress on that, and it will be looking better and more attractive. What I would like to do, and I've requested this, it was a little while ago, I've got to follow up on it. I would like them to come to city council quarterly and give us an update as to what's going on. And because we really don't know, and you figure on your tax bill, the largest portion goes to the school district, and that's pretty much across the country. They take the biggest chunk. And I think that as taxpayers, you all know, you need to know what your money is being spent on as far as the education. So I would like a lot more interaction. Actually, I'm glad that that was brought up. I will follow up on that.
Thank you, Darla. Bonnie?
I'm not sure was she wondering if about the districts or that are tax money? I wasn't quite clear about the, well, anyway, the superintendent we have now, I think, is doing an excellent job. I like her, but that shouldn't be the reason for my opinion. But I do think she's doing a very good job. And we don't really have say. I mean, the city doesn't have say over the school district. What they have to do is give them their taxes. They keep track of that. But otherwise, we don't really interfere with that. That's why they have the representative school board thing. They're the ones that oversee the schools. That's my understanding anyway. Okay.
Thank you, Bonnie. Adam?
Yes, the public school partnership with the city government here in Two Rivers is a well-working relationship. They are different budgets. The school board controls their own budget. The city council controls the rest of the budget for the city. But at the same time, we need to be able to support each other for a successful Two Rivers. The school system has had its struggles. I don't think there's any denying that. You look at the state report card and you can see that. When they gave us a presentation earlier this year, I think it was, those numbers have gone up. And that's a good thing and a thing that we do want to promote, because that's going to help bring younger people and younger families into the city of Two Rivers to continue to build our city to the great city that it is. So yeah, so we need to work together, and I think that partnership is there. And it shows when they come to city council meetings to give us presentations. Usually it's once a year. But Diane Johnson also invites us to the Veterans Dinner at the beginning of November. And she's in constant contact with our city manager of other things that happen. They're in coordination with our police department for liaison officers. So there really is a good working relationship between the city and its school system.
Thank you, Adam. Catherine?
So I think it's a terrific question, and I'm glad you brought it up. I don't know what the answer is yet, but I do think there's an opportunity to develop a stronger relationship. I'm going to go back to that strategic plan, because the one thing we talked about housing, we talked about, bringing people here. And to Darla's point, if you look at the school system, it could be a red flag for a young family moving in. And it's going to take a while to recoup from that. I know you guys are working really, really hard to get those reading scores up. I talk to my grandkids when they come home from school, and I know what the struggles and the challenges are there. And that's a big cliff, to come up from. So, I'd love to see some opportunity to partner and to work together a little bit more deeply when it comes to that longer term planning with regard to building a stronger relationship, building a stronger community. Again, not sure what that looks like, but I think there needs to be a bit more of a strategic plan. Chantal had made the reference earlier, we don't see kids anymore in the neighborhoods. What's underneath that? What do we need to unpack behind that? There's something there, and I don't know what it is yet. I think it bears exploring a bit more. What can we do to support? And I think there's a question behind your question, and I'd like to understand a little bit more of that. It's not just, hey, are we going to each other's meetings? There's got to be something more. So don't know what it is. Would love to have the opportunity to serve and find out. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll invite one more question from the audience.
Hello, everyone. As I was sitting here listening to all of the great answers, the great questions, the one thing that I didn't hear brought up, which is I think the most important for our city to thrive, is industry. Whether it's blue collar, whether it's white collar, whether it's tech, medical, robotic, whatever it is, we have been so focused on tourism, and no one has been held really accountable, in my opinion, for business and industry. So what are your goals, or what would you like to see to help grow industry in our area, whether it's blue or white collar? And what would you like to see accountability held to some of those committees? Does that make sense, or did I ramble? Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
For this one, we will start with Catherine.
Oh, I knew you were going to hit me with that one first. Thanks, Corey, for that. Again, wonderful question. That's a tough one right now, because again, if I look at the spaces that we have, we're never going to get a Hamilton's back. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lower scale industry that we're going to be bringing here. You have to look at what type of industry. You have to look at the supply chain coming into the industry. You have to look at the worker types coming into the industry. I've worked in manufacturing for a big part of my career, right? And worker types. So it's going to be a little bit of a hitch. No one wants the AI data centers, right? We'd love to see development, in the nuclear facility. So would we be a bedroom community that could support industry in another location? I think it's going to have to take some investigation. Would it be a small tooling company that could come into the industrial park? Part of that will come into some of the work that Mr. Sashi is looking at. Are there smaller companies that could fit somewhere in the supply chain that could support a larger industry somewhere up or down, Route 41, that can support businesses that we could find employees to work in? And then I'll go back to the employees. We have a scarcity of individuals who are skilled in trades. We have a retirement cliff in that area. So it would be great to bring industry here. The second part of it, do we have the skilled trades to do that? That begs the question, hey, there's then an opportunity to open up some skilled trades training. So everything has a hook to it. Yes, we do need to bring in industry. We have to make sure it's the right industry, right size. Can it be long sustaining? And then can we have the right workforce developed to be able to move in and do that? It's not an easy question. It's got a lot of legs to it.
Thank you, Catherine. Chantal?
So sometimes when I hear the thing, with the Hamiltons, if we ever, like, I know that's never happening, but we wouldn't even have the workforce to support a Hamiltons right now. We don't have enough young people to work there. And, but I do like, there was a word there that I liked from Catherine, and it was called bedroom community. You know, it's not like the early 1900s where you have to hook up a horse and buggy and, go to town. People travel to work. Um, you can make your community like appealing to people that work from home, people that are willing to travel. I was amazed this week, and I know we are not New York City and we are not Poconos, Pennsylvania, but there are people that live in Poconos, Pennsylvania and drive 2 hours to work in New York City. So people are willing to travel if they have a nice community to live in. So, and though I do agree with Catherine too, we need to encourage smaller businesses to start, particularly in the industrial park. We need to give them incentives to come here so that we do have employment opportunities for people. But we also, if you're a wonderful community with great resources and great schools, you don't have to worry about having people will just want to live where you are, especially when you have a beach and a river. And I really think that that is an important future because when you look at what happens to places when, like, all we've talked about, like Corey said, is tourism. Well, look what happened in Europe. Tourism was all the rage for all them years. And now they spray hoses at people, at tourists now. So tourism has its place, but you really need to look at sustainability for your population and what can happen to your future. You don't want to price out people and not have a community, and so, yeah, build on that and the bedroom community, love it.
Thank you, Chantel. Darla?
I know people want to have a large employer back. That's going to be very, very difficult, if not possible, to do that. One of our biggest drawbacks is that we are not close to I-43. That's why Manitowoc has so much success. They're right off the highway. That is very attractive to corporations. They save, you go off, you drop your load, you get a different one, and you go back on. We're very far away from that. And with the cost of gas, those companies are not going to want to, they want it as cheaply as possible. You guys have brought up the industrial park. Perfect. That's a really good place to start small businesses because small businesses might take off in the next couple of years. Hamilton started off small, Eggers started off small, Caronet started off small, but those are ones that were lucky enough and well managed enough to grow and have a lot of employment availability. And another thing too, and I know this won't be popular, but Manitowoc has had great success in attracting large corporations, and they have jobs. I think we should draft on their success. And I think that, the whole thing is that work there, it's not that far away, live here. And that's what we're looking for, is for people to live here. That will widen the tax base, but be behind small business for sure.
Thank you, Darla. Bonnie?
Like Darla said, we are far away from the interstate, and that does make a difference. I know that we've had people come here interested in setting up a business here, and Manitowoc got them. So it's kind of hard for us to offer more than what Manitowoc can offer. They're 3 times as big, so I don't have much else to add except that.
Thank you, Bonnie. And Adam?
Yes, I do agree with the I-43. When you got to bring in raw goods to someone inside the city, which is about 10 minutes or so from I-43, you got to drop those raw goods off. They got to be made, then they got to get picked up and get right back to where they initially came off on I-43. That does bring a challenge, but at the same time, we do have opportunities within the city with 2 great trucking companies that can also assist with that. So if we can do a good job in promoting that we do have fixes for some of those challenges, that can certainly help. But first thing is you need the workforce and the partnership with the school and their tech ed department. They have an outstanding tech ed department. Those guys over there are fabricating, that they're building wood craft projects. They're getting themselves set. And I think that's a great thing that our school system does. They also have internships with other schools, including LTC. And the more we can build on that and get people involved in the trades at a young age will give us a nice young workforce here in Two Rivers. And I think the rest can take care of itself because we have an industrial park. We have TIF assistants that we can go out there with. And we've already built a beautiful community within Two Rivers. We've grown our downtown up and down. You don't see all the vacant properties you did when I first came on council. There were 13. You go up and down the main street, you don't see 13 vacancies. You see new builds and you see those other vacancies take hold with other small business. You see a very safe community. You see one of the top rated paramedic units. They're all top-notch paramedics over there. They're critical care paramedics, which speaks vibes. Every single one of them over there is, and not every community can say that. We have it. We have a city that takes care of their roads. You don't see a lot of bumpy roads. Are there bumpy roads? Yeah. It takes a long time to fix roads, but they're not like Manitowoc's roads. In Manitowoc's roads, you go down, you're bumping throughout almost the whole city. You don't see that here because we take care of them. That's part of the quality of life. I'm not stopping. You take a look. You take a look at our. She asked a long question. You're giving me more time.
Cut him off. Cut him off.
Okay, I am done. He stopped me anyway. We have a good Parks and Rec department, though.
Thank you to the audience for their questions. Thank you to the candidates. We will now move into closing statements. Again, candidates will have 2 minutes each for their closing statements and appeals to voters. We will begin with Darla.
Economic development is huge, and there's so many different ways that you can approach it. Like I said before, I think if we kind of nurture smaller businesses, that is definitely a plus for us. And like I said, draft on Manitowoc's success, but I want you living next door to me. You know, another thing too is with our housing, it's hard for us to tell a developer, you must build this or that. You know, we work with them. We tell them this is what we're looking for, but it comes down to them. We had a developer who had the renderings and everything ready to go for on the riverbank over here. And then the cost of materials just kiboshed that whole thing. There's a lot of reasons why things don't come to fruition. But as a city, we try very, very hard to work with developers and to really sell our city. I agree with what a lot of you said about not becoming, we don't want to be realtors. We don't want to be in the real estate business, but they do listen. And so we have to partner with them. I want to say about tourism, it's not a dirty word. All right. If while we're trying to build on our economic development and jobs, tourism, we can get an awful lot out of that. Today's visitor can well become tomorrow's resident. A lot of people I'm seeing more. They didn't live here until they went to a festival. And they love the place, and they come back and they live. So those are my 3 things, but we need to increase our population. We need more housing. So we got to work that way.
Thank you, Darla. Bonnie?
I grew up here in Two Rivers, and I know kind of the mindset of the people that started or established this city, and I think they've done a pretty good job. Housing is a problem. The thing is, I don't think people, general population, realize how much we're affected by legislation in Madison. Not just Madison, but at the federal level. like they said before, we have to get rid of our lead laterals. Just so you know that that has been happening for a long time here. Well, I won't mention names, but one of the guys from Public Works, he said, we're not having bad water on my watch, and I don't think we did. Oh, and the water and the chemicals, all this stuff is so expensive. I I don't think we do so badly for such a small city. Like I said, and they have a lot of influence in things like housing because they will offer grants for this project or that project, but not for something else that maybe we wish we could have instead. Those are the challenges. And it's not, I don't think it's an easy thing sometimes to make a decision. You know what you wish you could do, but sometimes you're trapped by the cost or whatever. I see it that way. Do we all agree? No, we don't all agree on the council, but we're all voting according to what we think we should. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Adam?
I love this city. I fight for this city. I've lived in this city my whole entire life because I love it. And I'm going to continue to work on the same things that brought me up here. Quality of life, businesses in the downtown and industrial park, and listening to people. All those things have improved. The quality of life in Two Rivers has been outstanding. We have increased our parks, not increased them as in the amount, but increased what you can do at these parks. We have made them more lively and more fun for young families. We have an outstanding, I've said it once, I'll say it 3 times, we have an outstanding police department, fire department, a road crew that takes care of all of our needs. They are there on a second. Same thing with the water and light department. Those guys respond no matter what and get services up and running. That is quality of life. That is a reason why you want to be here. The downtown has grown. You've seen new buildings. You've seen old buildings turn into new. You've seen storefronts pop up. That is a great sign for business. You've seen in the industrial park, 3 new businesses came into the industrial park in the last 3 years. That's growth. We need to stay on that same track. And I'd be proud to say if we had 3 more businesses in my next 3 years here, if I'm given that chance, awesome. That means we're on the right track. Listening to people. Okay, I answer those emails. I take phone calls. I meet people. I've gone to people at their homes and met with them. I've gone to them with coffee. I've met them at a bar for a drink. It's good to hear from people, their needs, their thoughts. Not everything always works out. I wish it did. You can't always wave a magic wand. But the fact that we try and we explain both sides of every issue and come back up here and try to fight on your behalf. Again, it's not always a perfect scenario, but you can only do the best you can do, and listening is the number one priority that we got to do as a council to the people that we serve.
Thank you, Adam. Catherine?
Well, first of all, I want to thank again the Chamber, the League, the TRBA, and most of all the citizens who are here and those of you who are watching. We serve you, and we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for the opportunity to present our opinions tonight and our positions. I'm running because I want to bring my point of view, some transparency, the listening, strong financial clarity to Rivers and how it's governed. I think that we need a very clear direction, a strategic plan to where we're going to. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of opportunity. And I think there's a bright future for Two Rivers. And there's so many elements that need to be knitted together. We've heard a lot about housing. We've learned a lot about economic development. We've learned a lot about tourism, which does play a big part in that. We've learned about industry that has a place in that. We've learned about our education system. It all needs to come together. And my commitment, if I'm given the opportunity to serve, is to be that ear for you, to be that voice for you on council, and to represent accordingly to ensure that all of those elements come together and that we do have a cohesive plan for Two Rivers, and that we continue to grow to be that city that serves the folks who live here, the folks who retire here, and continues to attract people who, like myself, come for a festival and decide to move the whole kit and caboodle and family to live here and grow here. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And finally, Chantel.
I'm like Adam. I love it here. I love it here so much that, my parents have both moved away and I'm still here. My grandparents are all gone, so I'm the last one here, but I loved it so much. I could never bear to leave. And, I live in a home only 2 blocks from the house I was like on my birth certificate. So, I just really love it. I would like to be on the council so that I can represent families like myself. If you didn't know, I do have 6 children. I work, so I'm very busy. I didn't do this because I have all kinds of time to dedicate. I did it because I ran because I felt that, families need to be represented. They're struggling right now out there in Two Rivers. There's a lot of poverty. The taxes are really high, the utilities are really high, and I just see families struggling everywhere. And even with the school district and everything like that, I just wanted to do something. I want to participate in the government. I want to be there for the families that are out there like mine, and that's why I decided to run. I may not know everything that I need to know yet, but I can learn it. I am pretty resilient. I'm a quick learner once I get into things. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I would really appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Chantel. And thank you to all of the candidates for your thoughtful answers and participating in this election. Thank you for your input onto democracy within our community and our country as a whole. Thank you to the audience for your attentive listening tonight. Hopefully you all learned something about the candidates. The League of Women Voters would like to say, if you're interested in learning more pertaining to the school district side, on Thursday, March 26th at 6 p.m. at the Manitowoc Public Library, they will be having a listening session with the superintendent for the Two Rivers School District, for the Manitowoc School District, and the finance director for the Two Rivers School District. Once again, thank you all, and please remember to vote on April 7th. Thank you. Get home safely and have a great evening.